Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny had such a disastrous opening weekend that the shill media websites can't even make excuses for it, at least not logistical ones. In this article from Hollywood Reporter, box office, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny cursed with $60 million domestic opening. The July 4th tentpole appealed heavily to older adults who have become more and more discerning about what they watch on the big screen versus the streaming. Now, before I go on, to give you an idea, what a movie has to do to break even, how are those numbers figured out by plebs like us? Now, what you do is you take the production budget and you take the advertising budget. You add those two together and you double it before a movie starts to break even, because theaters don't run for free. So, in the case of, well, let's use Little Mermaid as an example, $250 million budget with $140 million advertising budget, coming out to $390 million. You double that to get $780 million. In order for the theaters to make their money, The Little Mermaid has to break $780 million based on what is reported from Disney in order for it to start making money. Contrary to popular belief, Little Mermaid will not make money. I will not be eating crow on this one, so you have a nice day. But let's get back to Indiana Jones and the Flop of Destiny. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny dug up an estimated $60 million in its domestic debut. A troubled start. Troubled? It's a disaster for the fifth and final installment of the famed adventure series starring Harrison Ford. The hope now is that Disney and Lucasfilm tentpole will hold in well. I'm afraid I've got some bad news for you. I do not believe this movie is decent enough to have any sort of legs on it to get any further past the opening weekend. Overseas, the movie launched to $70 million for a lackluster global start of $130 million. Now, if you base this on even generous week-to-week drop-offs, you're looking at, let's say, 45% drop-off. There's no chance on God's green earth this movie is going to make its budget back, because projected, based on $300 million production budget and an advertising budget of roughly half, for generous estimates, you're looking at $450 million times two, $900 million. Dial of Destiny is not going to get that back. This movie, I would not call it absolutely terrible, but it's not even remotely good. It was boring, slow-paced, entirely too long. The writing was subpar, and it was a slug to get through. An absolute slog. Not slug, slog. Or slug is very appropriate, because slugs are nice and slow because they're snails. Anyway, I'll be talking more about it on Dumpster Fireside Chat this week. Please join us there. Thursday night this week, if you're seeing this movie when I put it out. But anyway, for Dial of Destiny, the challenge has always been about attracting new, younger fans in addition to those who grew up on the franchise. Well, maybe if you wanted to pull in the older franchise lovers, people who have been following this, people in my demographic, who watched Raiders of the Lost Ark and Temple of Doom and The Last Crusade and absolutely loved those movies, trying to get them in by, what's the word, deconstructing Indiana Jones as a character, as a man, as a father, as a husband. Maybe you shouldn't have done that in the first... Oh, anyway. But, hey, what do I know? Deconstructing of a male character. It's very hard. It's very difficult when it happens over and over and over and over again to ignore it, to just push it off to the side and say, maybe they're not doing that. Maybe I'm just imagining things. But I'm sorry. After Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, and now Indiana Jones, it is difficult not to call a spade a spade. It is what it is. As it stood, the movie's opening weekend audience skewed notably older, with 42% of tickets going to people 45 and up, including 23% 55 and older. So you have a much older demographic who are interested, far more interested, in seeing the character that they grew up with. This movie was not it. That's the breakdown rarely seen when it comes to Hollywood summer tentpoles. Yep, you laid an egg on this one. Even before the pandemic, older moviegoers weren't known for rushing out to see a movie on opening weekend. The pick also skewed notably male, 58%. Duh, it's Indiana Jones. Give me a break. On Saturday, families started turning up. The filmmakers had hoped for a domestic launch closer to $65 million. Oopsie, but a B-plus cinema score. It doesn't even deserve that. A C- at best. Bordering on a D. And tepid reviews are likely hampering word of mouth. No, it doesn't hamper. What do you... Okay. That's written poorly. Hampering word of mouth. No, nothing is hampering word of mouth. It's hampering any sort of enthusiasm about this movie because of word of mouth. Word of mouth, always been said, make or break a movie. Opening weekend will be fantastic for some of the, I guess, more renowned directors, writers, studios, and franchises. But once that opening weekend is done, word of mouth can absolutely tank the week-to-week drop-off or keep it going nice and steady and normal. Again, 40 to 50%, I believe I'm starting to learn, is pretty average for a movie to continue on that route. 65 to 72%, as in the case of The Flash, is an absolute unmitigated disaster. One bright spot is the 88% positive audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. I took a look at that to see if they were trying to finagle the numbers, but it doesn't look like it. So there are quite a few audiences that like this movie. And depending on who they look at the reviews, the people who have not seen it yet, that's going to be a big deal. And, of course, how 4th of July goes. Are people going to be going to the theater and watch it, or are they just going to be blowing stuff up in their backyard while they're drinking and maybe taking a finger off? Dial of Destiny is a sequel to a useless movie that also never should have been made, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which posted an impressive 3-day debut of $100 million. Crystal Skull, like the first three indie films, was directed by Steven Spielberg. Indiana Jones movie series once again sees Harrison Ford as the swashbuckling, but you know all this stuff. 80-year-old actor stars opposite Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Blech. Antonio Banderas. Did you know he's in the movie? He wasn't in any of the promotional materials. But it remains to be seen. I think, are they going to use this as a 5-day holiday weekend, even though people actually work on July 3rd? Are they going to conclude the numbers to try and bump up the, I guess, the box office numbers to make it look better than it actually is? I don't know. Of course they're going to try it. They want to do anything and everything that they can. I've watched the movie. I don't think it's worth it. If you're truly an Indiana Jones fan and must see the movie, wait for it to come out on streaming. This movie, I'm sorry, the writing was just poor. The beginning of the movie with my brain's not working. That's all there is to it. Flashback of Indiana Jones in Germany, Nazi-occupied Germany. That was the best part of the movie, and even that was a little creepy with the de-aged Indiana Jones. But let me know. I don't know. Go see it for yourself if you want to. I do not recommend this scene at the theater. I'm stumbling over my words now, so I'm going to go ahead and end this here. Let me know what you think in the comments. Leave a like, leave a dislike. I appreciate you making it this far. Do you think this movie is going to make its budget back? Is it going to make money? I don't think so. Have a good one.